And good evening, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of the African American Athlete live stream. I'm Rickey Hampton, along with my co host Mike Robinson, coming to you on a Sunday evening. Hope everybody's had a great weekend. And Mike, man, we got a lot to talk about because we got the start of the NBA playoffs. And brother, it's already off to an exciting start. But how you doing first and foremost, man?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because, of course, our uh, dual identities as frat brothers and co-hosts. Uh, Frat brother portion, the greatest fraternity on earth ever, Kappa Alpha Psi. So nice they named it twice, Phi Nu Pi. But my version, Western Province. So I don't want to break it down to everybody. Just the western part of the country and other parts of the Pacific. Our Western Province had our uh, council and the 76th version, and it was here right in San Jose. So we had brothers from all over the region came through, and it was a great time, but it's pretty exhausting. So I'm definitely ready for the sports mode, but I didn't get to see everything in full depth. I kept getting like pieces, bits and pieces, because if you're in the hospitality area, you got people all over the place. So you're trying to watch it on the screen and realizing, look, man, I'm in the midst of this Kappa business, so let me just try to get as much as I can. So great week, and yo to all the brothers that came here to San Jose and had a really nice time, and there was a lot of interesting things going on and different positions in the region where people are now in different fields. Or you have vice pole mark. We had that situation happen, but I don't want to get too deep into it. But yeah, as for basketball, yeah, it was, of course, us being in the Bay Area. There was a lot of eyes on that Sacramento Warriors game, and of course, that's only 90 miles away from here, so it's a regional deal there. And we saw that the Kings came out on top. And I had a lot of people laugh at me when I said, "Look, you better be careful. Harrison Barnes might be a very pivotal force there." He's nothing. That's okay. So he did play a part, but of course, De'Aaron Fox was going crazy. But there's a little sidebar scenario in that game up in Sacramento where one of the most well-known entertainers and rappers from this area, representing Vallejo, California, Mr. Earl Stevens, who's also a connoisseur in wines and everything else, was ejected from the arena because of some type of confrontation with a fan. And then when it really broke down, and what he kind of explained in his text is it came down to when they came over and saw what was going on. He was a probably, I think he's about 6'3", black man, was in a confrontation with a white woman in the audience, and all they saw was that, and they said, "You got to go, buddy." And basically, he had his prime seats right there by the court, and he's getting heckled from behind, allegedly. And then when the confrontation happened, they just said, "You're the one that has to go." I don't know why she wasn't kicked out, but it's really going to put a bad light on what a great moment it was in Sacramento with lighting the beam and all that stuff. But now it's going to look like Sacramento has a tinge of racism going on. It's gonna be kind of awkward up there, so they better put some kind of apology up and make sure they take care of Mr. Earl Stevens next game, or if
Earl
let
Stevens
him
is
back up to
AKA
E40,
E40.
40
Okay.
water, all kind of other names. So
Okay.
going with the spoon, that's another one of his.
I'm not up on his music, but when you say a tinge of racism, surprise, surprise, that mess is everywhere, man.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
just ask the folks down in our old haunt, Nashville, Tennessee,
Oh yeah,
where you
absolutely.
went to college in my hometown. You see how that stuff rolls down there.
Mhm.
But the game itself, I really thought Mike was a was the coming out of not only the Sacramento Kings but the Aaron Fox,
Right.
who pulled in 38 points and was just he was just extraordinary. It was an extraordinary performance by that young man who I assure you last night for I don't know 80% of the country, that's probably the most they've seen that guy play
Yeah.
because he's been in Sacramento
Yeah.
playing on West Coast time. This is the first time they're in the playoffs
Yep.
for I don't know 20 years or whatever. That was his coming out party. But Mike, I think this is his sixth season, this fifth or sixth season.
Somewhere around there, yeah. His name has popped up a lot, especially for
Yeah,
people that are really into basketball. But yeah,
right.
nobody pays attention because for one thing, you're in the Pacific time zone. You're probably the fourth white city out of the whole four NBA teams. You gotta go with the two LA, and then you gotta go San Francisco. Then right, they're up there far state capital, Sacramento. They have a team up there too. So you got that going against you, and the fact that you have this long absence. So it's hard to be noticed if you're not playing during this time now, playoffs. That's made household names out of a lot of players, and maybe not to be heard again, but that one shining moment, during the playoffs, if you get it done, you could be known for forever. So, but my thing once again is like what they kept throwing at them was they have no kind of experience. They said, you know what? You could diminish it all you want to. Harrison Barnes won a championship. Mike Brown won a championship as an assistant and was in the finals himself as a head coach. So it's not like they're foreign to any type of pressure moments. But
Right,
it's like
right.
as a whole team, there was a lot to do. But the moment wasn't too big for them. And that's really good for their psyche to take care of business game one. Now, if they lay an egg game two, I'm sure all the insecurities will come back. But if they say, look, we're not playing with you guys, so we're going to win game two, we're going to light the beam again. If they do that, I think the Warriors might start to get worried because, let's face it, they're horrible on the road, and they're going to have more games in Sacramento than San Francisco.
That's right. They're 10 and 30 on the road. A team
Yep.
with that kind of pedigree should not be 10 and 30 on the road, but that's what they are. But Mike, you think about a guy like Fox who played at Kentucky. That's he's played in front of bigger crowds than most NBA players because Rough Arena holds about 25,000.
Right.
And in Kentucky, you better win. So it wasn't stage fright. He's used to playing in front of a lot
Yeah,
of
but here's the difference, though, Ricky. During his era of Kentucky, it was when they were starting to question Calipari, who said, "Hey, man, you're not really doing this well with these one and dones now." Probably the last
yeah.
era where they were pretty good was definitely Derrick Rose in Memphis. When he was in Memphis, and Derrick Rose and those guys went to the championship, and then maybe the early days with Boogie and all those guys. But during De'Aaron's time, that's when they were just saying that Kentucky doesn't have that mystique like they used to. Maybe this one and done has caught up with them.
Right, and that's the pressure that he
Right.
played under there. Malik Monk is another Kentucky guy. I used to cover the SEC, and for Kentucky, basketball for Kentucky has been like SEC football is now. They will be the only ones thinking along those lines in the SEC. But Mike, I'm looking at his stat line: 38 points. He played 40 minutes, 38 points, 5 assists, 13 to 27 from the field, 4-8 from three. I mean, just a great performance. And he counted Steph Curry, who was great in his own right, man. So, I mean, Steph's a great player. I mean, he was 11 to 20 from the field, 6 of 14 from three, and just hit some incredible shots. 30 points. It was a really entertaining game.
Mm-hmm.
But Mike, what I think the difference was for the Kings was the production they got off the bench. Malik Monk, 32 points.
Yeah, that's huge.
Dude had 32 points, and Trey Lyles had 16 points.
Well, a commentary I saw somewhere was that, hey, you know, another big thing that the Kings did, they made Clay put the ball on the court. I mean, put the put the ball on the floor, court floor. But yeah, made him dribble basically. And because remember when he had those historic games, 60 points and all that, and they talked about how few times he put the ball on the floor. I mean, yeah, you have to start saying, look, man, let's make this guy uncomfortable. Look, can he make these shots off the dribble? You know, what happens if we force him left dribbling? You know, so you got that's some things when you get kind of frustrated when you watch basketball, knowing that you're not at that echelon of coaching, but still, you say, look, guys, in any basic basketball, you got to make that person uncomfortable. Don't let them do what they do best at ease. Make it uncomfortable. And if they're super good, it won't matter. You know, Kobe, LeBron, all those guys say, yeah, let's force him love. No problem. I laugh at you. But, you know, when you get some of those players that are, you know, middle of the road or maybe good but not great, you got to start making them, you know, use their, emphasize their weaknesses and see if you can get a better result out of that. And maybe that's what happened in that game where Clay was like, hey, you know, I'm not as comfortable now. I'm not catching the ball in the corner without having to do anything but my shooting motion. I don't have to pump fake or dribble 3 dribbles to the left or, you know, drive to the hole for a layup, you know. That may have been a factor too. But and of course Mike Brown would know his tendencies being that he's from the Warriors Kingdom.
Yeah, our great friend Jared Wiley checked in and said that's great scouting against Gary Clay, and you're right. His shooting streaks are catch and shoot. Yeah, that's what
that's true.
And you know he's going to the Hall of Fame behind doing just that. But Mike, I think you're right. We may not be able to play this game athletically at the level these guys do. But some of the stuff you see that occurs is really just simple basketball that you would wonder. Why is it these guys don't see this? You know, you got 10 coaches on the bench and they don't see this. But you see bad coaching at all levels.
Oh yeah. And some of it is like nerves. Nerves could make you lose all the knowledge that you have. If the moment gets too big for you, you could be one of the most astute coaches ever. But if you can't handle all the pressure that goes with it, you'll lose your train of thought. Maybe the plays that you said. Well, I have all these design plays that we're gonna counter all the defense they put here and all that, but you get caught up in the moment, forgetting timeouts. How many coaches we've seen not know that they didn't have any timeouts left and cost their team, or didn't put the ball in the right place because they thought that they had this, they weren't listening to their assistant coaches. So that's why you have to be a great team, not only out there on the court, but on the sideline too, where you can have everything like a well-oiled machine and you won't have issues when the pressure starts to build. And we'll see. Maybe Mike Brown maybe finally get his due because, you know, Mike Brown took a team to the finals when he's in Cleveland. Then he got the Laker job and basically had Kobe and all those guys saying, well, you know, you only been here for a few days. You're not the right coach for us. I know he still has to feel that. And then he, of course, being an assistant with the Warriors has really probably built back up his confidence then to get this job in Sacramento and lead them to the promised land for the first time in a long time. They had a long drought. So a lot is now built back up on his resume where it's looking really good. And I'm glad to see it. You know, any other coaching when they can really get the, because you see, we lost Casey again. Dwayne Casey is out again. You know, remember he was coach of the year in Toronto and lost it because of, unfortunately, LeBron James being their kryptonite, and it's just, and then we got the other coach at Houston that lost his job. So even though Mike is at a nice level now, but we're it's still not at the moment it should be. It was like, well, we got 15 coaches, right? That 50%. And I said, that's not commensurate to what the league is. So let's not get too happy. Let's not placate to, oh, well, they're doing all they can for us. No. So you still have to demand more.
I didn't have a problem with Casey stepping back. Number one, he's going up into the front office, and that team needed a new voice. He was an excellent coach, but Red Auerbach wasn't going to win with the Pistons roster, and I think they did Casey right. In fact, it was Casey's decision to move upstairs, and I do believe that because they knew he couldn't win. Kay Cunningham played maybe 5 games this year in Detroit before he went down with the injury. And I was just putting up what Jared said. That's why it's important to have good bench coaches to help the head coach. And that's why the head coach needs to listen when the bench coach makes.
Exactly.
You got to trust. This whole thing's about trust, man. You got to trust your teammates. You got to trust your coaches. The guys that do are going to be successful when that talent level is about the same. And something else, Mike, this series is a problem for Golden State because the Warriors, they are a offensive juggernaut. They led the NBA in scoring this year at 100. They averaged 120 points a game. Now they give up 118, but if you want to get in the shootout, which Golden State doesn't mind, Sacramento don't mind that either. And with the diminishing of Draymond Green's offensive game, if they get in the shootout, I'm giving the edge to Sacramento. Because I looked at Draymond last night, he had 11 assists. And I'm not taking anything away from an assist as a good pass. But when you're playing with the kind of shooters you play with, some of those assists are kind of padded. Now you see them more than I do, Mike.
No, but you bring up a good point because that's when you go to almost like the chicken and the egg with Utah. It's like, okay, the second leading scorer for a long time was Karl Malone, right? Stockton led in assists and steals and all that. So it's like, which one had the greater impact? The one that was the second leading scorer in NBA history, or the one that was passing to him because of that pick and roll? So that's why sometimes statistics can be misleading. While some people automatically say, well, John Stockton should be the greatest point guard in history because, look, he leads in assists, he leads in steal, and he leads by a huge margin. But a lot of that has to do with that offense. Just like when D'Antoni got these MVPs, with Nash two straight MVPs, and then James Harden gets an MVP under his offensive, basically fast break attack or shoot it up real quick. So think about that. Were they really great that year, or was it the offense made them look extraordinary that year?
Yeah, because, man, when I pass it to Steph, he's 30 feet away and he shoots. I mean, that's an assist for me. Hey, and it is an assist, but, you have to kind of temper that. Taking nothing away from the man. An assist is an assist, but he needs to score more. And at this stage, he's never been a big scorer anyway.
Right.
And this, I just think this is a problematic matchup for Golden State, and not to mention they got to try to find a way to win at Sacramento. We saw how crazy that crowd was last night, and
they only need one.
and we see how they have struggled on the road,
Right.
10-30, which is just crazy. Let's talk about get to some of the other games, and right now I think we're at halftime.
With the
Uh,
Clippers.
Clippers and Suns. Clippers are 59-54. We'll come back to some of that, but we want to go through uh, some of the other games yesterday. Really, the Nets and Sixers. I mean, no contest. Joel Embiid, 26 points. Sixers beat the Nets 121-101. The only thing, the only at one time that looked to be a fascinating series, but when you think Ben Simmons is gone again
Mm-hmm.
and it just had absolutely no impact for the Brooklyn Nets. And James Harden, I mean, that was what a steal for the Sixers in terms of this year. You getting James Harden for Ben Simmons and Mike. You know, I wonder if that young man ever played any more NBA basketball. Talking about Ben Simmons.
Right. This might be one of those, and I'm using the word tragic kind of loosely, not anything with someone dying or anything like that, but it's going to be one of those NBA tragic stories where someone seemingly had all the talent in the world. The world was his oyster. Everything was there for the picking, and he actually did pretty well in the first couple of years. But
Yeah.
once that whole I didn't take the layup in the playoffs, or I didn't take the dunk in the playoffs, his career and world has been unwinding all over the place. And he may never get it back. I mean, especially as I said before, the best defense in the whole wide world is self-check. If you have no confidence in yourself, you get D'd up more than Alvin Robertson used to D up people. Okay. Uh, so I just think that psychologically he may have checked out and then not being able to handle a lot of the social media stuff and then being involved and I don't want to sound like I'm dissing these people, but being involved in this whole Kardashian thing and all the Hollywood stuff. So it's a lot going on. And then we got to give folks credit. Remember, he was going through a mental meltdown when he didn't have a shot anymore.
Yeah.
Talk about players
He
that
came back.
similar drafts. They were, you know, their careers were like on the edge, and he kind of made his way back. So, will Ben ever get back to respectability, or even on the periphery of a superstardom? That's the way I was looking at it in the beginning. But then we got the Ball situation. I mean, will Ball ever get back? And not the younger Ball, but the older Ball. Will he ever get back? I mean, he just had a season that's just wiped out. So it
But
may be a
at
lot.
least his is, I mean, that's a physical thing.
Right.
So, I mean, this thing with Ben, I mean, Mike, think about it, and he's still only 26 years old.
Right.
Man.
But we can't say it's all psychological. Remember, he did have the back situation where he's supposed to have surgery, and so that could be permeated more by the whole psychological portion of it. And then we get into mental health has become a big thing now. And then when our star gymnast, even says she's suffering from that, you have to take it more serious than probably before. But still, this is going to be something that's going to haunt him the rest of his career and more than likely life.
Bro, I'm all for mental health or something. I get that. But black men been dealing with mental health for years and had to go to work at some point. You got to go to work. You got to show up for work. And Jared, fair or not, we'll see if this successful season with Sacramento, with Brown, who previously coached at Golden State, and knows the important weaknesses. There's no way they can't make it into the next round. They need to win game 2. Oh man, and you know what? That's a good point. He knows,
Right,
and I think
exactly.
you said that earlier too. He knows that that the Warriors, as well as anything, shapes about Sirius Simmons. I don't know what's wrong with him. And finally, from Jerry, The
Yep,
connection curse.
it's real. Hey, but you know what though? It's funny that he mentioned that because knowing the inside out, think about this. It was a reversal for Brown. When Brown did go to the finals, he went against his mentor. Because remember, he can't. He went against San Antonio's coach. Because remember, he was with
Great
he
confidence.
was with Pop, and then he got the Cavalier job. They make it to the finals, and lo and behold, they play against Pop, and Pop knew how. Just basically, we got to let LeBron shoot. We got to pack the lane because nobody else is going to do anything, and let LeBron shoot. That's why they just swept them so easily. So he knew how to just basically cross cancel anything that he tried to throw up there, and of course LeBron learned from that. That's why I thought it was so idiotic when they said, "Well, LeBron went down to Miami to learn how to win from Pat Riley and Dwayne Wade." And I'm like, he was in the finals more recently than them. Will you guys stop talking ridiculously? So that's the thing about it, is that sometimes people don't really look at the whole picture. They just want to pick and choose what they think is cool and not really talk facts.
Yeah.
But we definitely can't leave out the team down in Los Angeles, the other team.
No, we're gonna get to all of them.
Okay.
But first, I just want to go over the stuff from yesterday. Celtics handled Atlanta 112-99. They just cruise, and I think they're going to cruise in that series. Just like I think the Sixers are going to cruise. And actually, the Nets have done better than I thought they would
Oh yeah.
do. After, in fact, their record may actually be a little better without Durant and Kyrie Irving
Exactly.
over the course of the season. The best game in the East yesterday was the Knicks and Cavaliers, the 4 and 5 seed. Knicks went in there and got a 101-97 victory against the Cavaliers. And Jalen Brunson, man, has been great for the Knicks all year. And I wonder if the people in Dallas are saying, can we have Jalen Brunson back and y'all take Kyrie?
Well, even though the two are not connected because they let Brunson go in the offseason. And let's not forget the owner and Brooklyn side that was trying to be, I don't want to use any vulgar language, but a smart butt when he said, "You're not going to Los Angeles. We're going to send you down to Dallas." So my thing was Mark Cuban wrong by falling for that? He said, "No, you're not going to put this personal stuff on us. Make the best deal for your team. If Kyrie wants to go somewhere, as long as you get him out of your organization, just worry about that. Don't try to do all this kind of personal stuff because retrospectively, it messed Dallas up. If you really look at it, that never clicked. I don't know. We don't know now if Luka is like, really, looking at other options now because look, you guys brought this guy over here who has to have the ball in his hand. That's going to take away from my whole spiel. So was this the best move that you guys could make? And then did you only make this move because this guy was being, doing bad business by just taking his personal feelings instead of worried about the best deal for both parties? So that may indirectly have been worse on Dallas than on the Lakers by them saying, "No, we're not going to let Kyrie come there," especially if he just, wanders his way over to LA next year, and ends up there anyway. But Dallas is now devastated. And the whole Brunson deal, a lot of that's going to fall on Cuban because he can say that, well, we just couldn't make a deal and he wanted to explore other options. I don't know. I mean, you got to make that happen, especially if he becomes one of the most important factors of your team. But then he asks, what's going on, Luka? Is like you've had Porzingis, Brunson. You guys are okay because you actually did well in the playoffs, but now Kyrie and it's not working. So who's the issue?
Well, I'll put it like this: they got worse after Kyrie got there. When Kyrie got there, they were the number 4 seed, Mike, in the West.
Yeah, but
and
you
they
know,
finished out of the.
it's one
They
of those
finished.
it's one of those situations where you can assign blame to that, but it was a lot of it had to do with their defense. Their defense was
Well,
bad
yeah,
before he got there.
and you can never put it on one person, for
Right.
sure. And
Just
I,
like
and I,
just like Durant's getting too much credit for Phoenix. Oh, they're 8-0 when he's there. I'm like, yeah, but you guys keep forgetting that they just got swept in the playoffs with him on Brooklyn. Then did you say, well, it's his fault that they were 0-4 against Boston? I mean, not against Boston. And they said, no, that's because he didn't have any help. So it's like, what is it? Are we gonna give him all the credit in the world when he goes to a good team and they do well, but we're gonna give him no blame when he's on a team that's supposed to have been good but underachieved? So that's the thing that kind of like, you look at who's placing the narrative in the media. If they like you enough, or if they feel like you could be someone that can upset the apple cart
well,
for LeBron, we're gonna like you.
the thing about today, there's so many places to go.
Yeah.
You can find whatever narrative you wanna have. You can find it today, and just go somewhere. Uh, Jared is just giving us some good stuff. We'll be a good series with New York and Cleveland. I totally agree. Luca will give it what the team. I bet he'll lead. That's going to be really interesting with Luca. But hey, I do want to talk about this series a bit because this is going to be one of the tighter series, especially in the East. Although we had a big upset that we'll get.
But before people get too excited, especially in New York, you know how they can get over exuberant. This Knicks team is hard to gauge. They'll look good one game and then look terrible like 2 or 3 in a row. So I would say let's kind of pump the brakes, especially if Cleveland comes back and wins game 2, which would be at home, but then they go to the Garden and just destroy them. Because a lot of teams on the road teams love to do really well in the Madison Square Garden. So that's the thing about it, is that the Knicks are too hard to predict. I mean, you might think it's going to be a good series because of just the way they're going back and forth game 1. But I just see a couple eggs being laid by these Knicks. And I got a feeling Mitchell's going to really do a tremendous job in Madison Square Garden.
Well, he had 38.
Exactly.
He did a tremendous job today.
But he's another one that was like doing like they say, looting during a riot. He was doing a lot of that in Utah, but it was a lot of empty calories. They would have this great regular season record and just go, and that's another situation with Snyder. They would say, "Oh, look, Snyder's going to turn around this Atlanta team. He's going to do more than McMillan because he's been so successful." I'm like, successful as underachieving and get no blame, but Doc Rivers is like this bumbling idiot that can't coach, but he has a championship. And Snyder was getting away with murder. Like, well, no, Utah just fell apart because there's a kind of rift between Mitchell and the Stifle Tower or this and that. It's like, dude, your teams have underachieved in the playoffs consecutive years. And now you get the Atlanta job. McMillan looks bad. And it's like, you're going to come here and resurrect this team. But what is really your track record?
Yeah, Atlanta's going to be an easy out by the Celtics. And because you look at the East, Milwaukee, Boston, Philly, they've been in Milwaukee, Boston, Philly, Cleveland. They've been in those slots the whole year. And nobody sees, and it's hard for me to see anybody other than Milwaukee, Boston, or Philly coming out of the East. And I still think that way, even with the upset today. Although, and let's just get to this game. The Bucks were upset by the number 8 seed Miami Heat today, Mike.
Unfortunately, I saw it.
Giannis went out with an injury. Not sure how bad the injury is. And if he's not able to come back, that is a problem for sure. Arguably the best player in the league at this moment. He played 6 minutes and went down. Did you see what happened, Mike? I did
Yeah,
not.
yeah. And here's the upsetting part about it. Kevin Love tried to take a charge, and he basically either flipped over him or somehow landed on his back. And then Kevin Love comes back and hits some big threes that whenever Milwaukee was trying to come back, he would hit a big three. Basically was on the bench for a while, and now he's becoming a prominent factor. And his biggest moment may be taking out the number one player. I'm not saying he did it on purpose. I'm just saying the fact that
Right.
he was there when it happened. Because he tried to do that same thing with LeBron, but LeBron dunked on him and embarrassed him. And then he went over to LeBron. I was like, come on, man, why are you doing that to me? I'm like, dude, stop being 6'10", trying to take a charge. Challenge the shot. Don't be that guy. That's usually a role player that's just in there like, set the screen and take the charge. You're supposed to be a star player. Why are you in there trying to take charges on, guys like that? Giannis and LeBron and things like that. Because that's kind of how people get hurt.
Well, that's the only way he can, because he can't jump with him.
Well, at least get your arms up or something. I mean, not this. Not this. Oh, let me take this charge. It's just, and of course, it's always that, whenever the outcome is a bad thing, then you start to look at it. Because we got another situation in baseball where a player got injured at home plate, and it's because of the whole malaise of what should be the proper way to block the plate, or what should be the proper way to make a play at the plate. Because remember, Buster Posey got his leg broken when he tried to block the plate, and now the catchers are kind of in another situation where they can't really get run over because of that. But I think I forgot the player, but he tried to do an awkward slide and hurt himself. So now it kind of goes both ways, and it's really a controversy. And I made this segue like this, but that made this controversy about what to really do at the home plate situation. Where does the catcher need to be off to the side and try to make a tag? Does the runner have to slide sideways to avoid a collision? So that's what I'm saying about how the outcome can be how they rule things. Just like with Gary Payton II, when Dylan went up to try to block his shot, and they made it seem like it was egregious because he fell wrong and tried to catch himself and messed up his elbow. They made it seem like Dylan tried to kill him, whereas like if he didn't land that way, would they have suspended him? So that's what I'm saying, that sometimes you can't let the result of something that happens be the reason for your punishment. It has to be what did they do something at the time that was deemed unnecessary. Because if somebody falls awkwardly, that's not really your fault.
Yeah, what's the intent? Well, Milwaukee Bucks coach Mike Budenholzer says we're going to monitor him and see how he wakes up. He had X-rays on his back, and the X-rays came back clear.
Yeah.
And
he had a contusion.
He's 28, and I think he's had some issues with his back before. So that's something to keep an eye on. But man, and you see Jared likes Cleveland winning in 6 games there. I couldn't tell you. I don't know who's going to win that series. I don't know that.
I just don't have confidence in
it. I don't think it really matters, because I still don't think either one of those teams can get out of the East. But it'll be interesting to see. But this thing with the Heat, they're going to have to. I'm sorry, the thing with the Bucks, they'll have to have Giannis. They can probably. I think they could actually beat them. I think they play Tuesday without Giannis, because they'll have a day to prepare and everything. But they would need him, obviously, throughout the course of the series to beat the Heat uh, and advance to the next round. So I think let's move on, Mike, because we got a couple of good games to get to today. And I'm trying to say the best for last here. Uh,
I mean, but just real quickly about that though, the Bucks need to be at the level where they only have to worry about having Giannis when they play Boston or somebody for the Eastern Conference Finals. Even though they don't have Giannis, you still need to be the 8th seed Miami. They barely
right,
made
I
it.
agree with you, and I and that's why I said I think the fact all of a sudden we don't have them kind of threw them off. Their game plan better, you know, for not having it, knowing we're not gonna have them Tuesday.
Right.
Is going.
Well, I think they played Wednesday. I think that gave them a little extra time
They
to
played
rest.
Wednesday too.
And then also they let them hit a lot of threes. You know, they let Jimmy Butler get loose. Bam was killing them. So it was a lot of defensive issues too. They didn't get a whole lot out of Lopez. So they need to really do a self-evaluation about, okay, guys, we got to stop having the situation where we lose a player and then we totally fall apart, even though we're the number 1 seed. That's even when when Middleton went out in the playoffs. You still had Boston beat. You were up 3-2. You go to game 6 at home. You could just take them out. No, you let Boston go crazy on you, especially Tatum. Tatum destroyed them. And then once they got that game 6, they got all the confidence in the world and they're back home in Boston for game 7. And Giannis just didn't have enough. But that's the team's fault, because even though you're missing Middleton, you still should have taken care of business.
Yeah, but hey man, a lot of these series are decided by, as my buddy Paul McCaskey always said, tell me who's healthy.
Yeah,
and you need to have your guys. I agree with you, Jared. Milwaukee can win a game or two without Giannis. They can't win if he's not available in the second round. They may not be able to win in the first round if he's available. But I agree with Mike. They should be able to beat the Heat even without Giannis. The best game of the day so far was the Lakers were really impressive, and they've been impressive since the trade. I got to give my man and our friend Derek Gervin credit. When the Lakers started 2-10 on the year, I'm like, dude, they won't even make the play. And he said, man, just hold your horses, watch 15. And he's right. They've been, since the trade deadline, they've got the best defense in the league. And I think they had the second best record entering the playoffs. And that's only because they lost a couple of games the last week of the season. They would have had the best record going in. And they went down to Memphis and took out as a number 7 seed and took out the Grizzlies today, 128-112. And a dynamic duo led the way for them. And it wasn't
four players with 20 points, Ricky.
Yeah, it was Hachimura with 29 points off the bench, and Austin Reeves with 23 points, and LeBron and AD were able to go into cruise control and have very efficient days. Anthony Davis, 22 points, 12 assists. 12 rebounds on 10 of 17 shooting. LeBron, 21 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists on 18 to 16 shooting. And they didn't have to do anything in the fourth quarter. So they didn't even have to work hard. So they were able to save energy. And Memphis, I don't trust Memphis anyway. I don't think they had to show me that they're a very mature team over the year, and they suffered a bad injury today. Their star guard, John Morant went down with a apparent wrist injury.
Oh,
And that's another thing Derek talked about with
yeah.
with Ja and Zion Williamson, the style they play, the high flyers, what comes up must come down. And landed on his wrist. And you can really see it here,
Right.
how that
But, but,
thing.
but you know what? It's funny you mentioned that because this is the thing that they try to say, well, the athletes are better now than they were then. And I said, do you guys realize how much Dominique would go up and do all these fantastic dunks? And he didn't get hurt until he ruptured his Achilles making a drive. He was
Yeah.
just dribbling. And he tore his
But,
Achilles tendon.
and
So they're
I totally agree with, I mean, Dr. J.
exactly.
How they do it, but they did it under more control, man,
Yes.
than some of these guys. I mean, like right there, that was a charge on John. That was the right call. I mean, AD is there, and John's out of control on this play.
Well, but remember, that's because of all the highlights they did before when he was dunking on these guys. Like, oh my God. So then when this happens, it's like, dude, you're a little reckless here. This is a good way to end your
Yeah,
career sooner than it should be, or be another one of those players where they said, man, we invested all this money in this guy, and we didn't really get any kind of return on our money because he was hurt most of that contract. And this is
well,
how you could end up in a situation like that. And look what's going on with Zion.
yeah,
Pretty much saying,
absolutely.
yeah, we invested all this money. You're supposed to be the second coming of LeBron, and all we're getting is, even like how they call AD street clothes. All we're getting is street clothes. So,
Yeah, he you know what? But even with John Morant, I like the Lakers in this series. For one, I like the maturity that LeBron's going to bring, and Anthony Davis, and how they're bringing these young guys along with them. And I don't trust the Grizzlies in these tough situations, like we saw today in the fourth quarter when they got outscored by 10 points
yeah.
In the fourth quarter. In fact, they got outscored 30-11 down the stretch. 30-11 down the stretch. Plus, they got injuries. I think the injury to Clark, one of their big guys, and the big center, Mike, his name is Steve Adams. Stephen
Yeah,
Adams.
yeah, Stephen Adams, yeah.
I think that's big, man,
Well,
because now Tillman has to start instead of coming off the bench. Xavier Tillman.
don't
And
forget Jackson, though. Jackson was hitting a couple
yeah,
threes this game.
yeah, Jackson, but now he's got to do more.
Yeah.
He had to play 37 minutes today. Their bench got considerably shorter. And let me see if I can get the rebounding stats. Not having Jackson, they got out rebound 49-42, but it seemed even worse than that,
Yeah.
really, because this doesn't show the opposite rebounds that the Lakers were able to get. So I mean, the Lakers, that West. I mean, it's been the Wild Wild West all year, and they are a dangerous group. I mean, I have learned not to bet against LeBron James, and I'm not going to start now. Uh, no excuse for Zion. I would not give him a max contract. Too injury prone. I would not give him a max either. But you know what? I think they have already said they're going to extend. I'm gonna try to look that up right quick.
Well, some of that, could be a feeling of guilt that we didn't take care of him well enough with our medical staff. Maybe some of that is that under our watch, he had these injuries or he hasn't been able to complete a season. So maybe some of that is guilt that we want to be the team that rehabilitates him or gets him back to normal, instead of saying, well, let's jettison him off somewhere else, and all of a sudden their staff gets him right, and then he becomes this phenomenon that we thought it would be. I mean, Shaq left Miami, and he talked about how Phoenix's health staff was better, and that he kind of got rejuvenated for a minute, but then before falling apart, and finally joining LeBron after he was done. And then of course people still say, well, look at all these top 50 players LeBron had. You can't count that Shaq year. So it's stuff like that. They're kind of people could use manipulative words that really don't mean what they should mean.
Here's the thing with Zion. He did agree to a 5-year, $193 million rookie extension that could go up to $231 million if he meets all his incentives. And they did that even though he only played 85 games in his first 3 seasons. So
that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
you guys had on what he missed this year, man.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that sometimes you don't want to be too hasty and say, oh, you know what, this is not going to happen, let's get rid of him, because you don't want to have him end up somewhere else and become extraordinary. And so that's what some teams will do. That some will say, this is not working, get rid of it, we want to eradicate it right now and do that. And then if it does blow up back in their face, so be it, because they said that we can't waste years on this. But sometimes you have to maybe flip a coin and say, are we going to invest in this young man because we promised him this, and the injuries may not be his fault. But if they kind of attribute to, well, it's because of his diet and it's because of the way he plays, he's putting himself in too much of a risk of being injured, because like he said, you get that weight and you're exploding up and down and running up and down the court, and there's wear and tear on your body. So there's a lot of things that teams will take into consideration, and you got to see what type of team it is. The owner makes a lot of difference. You get some people that think, well, the owner shouldn't have any kind of say-so on what happens on the court. It's his team or her team. So you have to look at, what is the owner looking at? What is the owner willing to invest in? And does the owner have the players back no matter what? So we'll see how New Orleans does this.
I tell you what, I'm kind of with Derek on this now. The way he plays, he's going to have to really change the way he plays. But it seems like all he's really interested in doing is dunking the ball. Even now, he'll go out there and dude, I mean, don't nobody want to see you dunk in your street clothes, man.
Right.
They want to see you dunk in the game.
But see, even though Derek has the expertise on this, sometimes when you say players should change the way they play, they may totally change the way they play. Whereas some players, they might say, you know what, you're driving too much, you're doing this and all that. All of a sudden now they say, you know what, let me change some more, try to get a mid-range game and all that. And if that's not in your DNA, you may be absolutely thrown off from your trajectory of what you're going to be. And then it'll start getting into your mind. Like, you know what? Instead of driving to the hole, I need to pull up. Instead of trying to take this guy down to the cup, I need to try to pull a 3. So
yeah, I totally agree with he can't play the other way. I mean,
exactly. So we'll see though.
I mean,
the best ones do adjust though. They do adjust.
He's 6'6", 280, whatever he plays with. So it's not like he's a 7-footer. He's got to use his athleticism to get shots off. So, he's got to do that. And I'm just looking here over the wire. Miami lost Tyler Hero. To
a broken hand. Right, but so here's the funny thing about that.
He could be out 6 weeks.
Yeah, he's pretty much done for the playoffs unless they make a huge run, which, it's a possibility. But the think about this though. So Jimmy Butler is playing well in this game, of course, in Milwaukee because that's where he played in college. Tyler Hero's from the Milwaukee area, so I'm sure he was excited about this series, and to have him break his hand and may miss the rest of the playoffs, or definitely will not play in this series. So I know there's got to be a hard blow on him too. And some people are like, that doesn't matter, but you'll be amazed how some people, when they go to the familiar surroundings and things like that, they play way better than they did maybe throughout the season. So I think Jimmy Butler was really comfortable on that court, even though he didn't play on that court, but playing in Milwaukee because they were in the Bradley Center, I think, when he was at Marquette. So the Fiserv is pretty new. So but it's still back in Milwaukee though.
So hey, we're right at the witching hour, 10 o'clock, Mike. We got, perfect time, and we got through all the games. We're right now, the Clippers and Suns. I got 77-70 last time I checked. Phoenix made a run to take the lead. So I'm going to call it a night, man, so we get in here and watch these. But we'll have, again, a lot to talk about next weekend. And we'll try to call one of our NBA friends, next weekend to come on and discuss it with us.
Let me tell you what I'm trying to do, and I won't spoil it, but I'm trying to get someone because there's going to be a pretty impressive movie coming out soon. So I'm working on somebody to come on and talk about that.
Speaking of, I hope it's not the same movie I went to see today. Sweetwater, the story.
Oh no! It's not coming out yet. It's coming out in April.
I went to see this. My wife Kathy and I went to see Sweetwater, the story of Nate Clifton.
Yeah, Sweetwater Clifton.
Sweetwater Clifton. Definitely worth going to see. His story is worth knowing, and I would suggest some of the stuff, man, with the sports movies.
Yeah.
When you cover so many sports events, some of it looks so phony.
Yeah.
The story is so important.
Yeah.
It needs to be told, and they give shout outs to Chuck Cooper and Earl Lloyd. They get a little shout out there. But that's what we're going to see. Get your popcorn and go check out Sweetwater. And the young man that plays Sweetwater in the movie did a good job. So I'll leave that at that.
All right.
But I'm going to get in here and watch the rest of this game.
Right. Well, what I'm talking about, though, is at the end of the month. It'd be, I think, the last Friday of this month, April. So that's why I would try to get this person on next Sunday. So I'll let you know if it comes to be. All right.
Sounds good.
All right.
And I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I want to thank Jared Watley, my former colleague and a heck of a basketball player in his own right, for checking in with us and all those great comments. For Mike Roberson, I'm Rick Hampton. Peace, everybody.
All right. And Yoke the News out here in San Jose over the weekend.
Peace.